This is your before and after story. Southeastern College can help you prepare for a secure and fulfilling career in the growing healthcare field. We offer a wide range of careers to choose from, so whether you want to be a medical assistant, medical billing and coding specialist, nurse, surgical technologist, or another healthcare career, we've got you covered. Become a vital part of a healthcare team and make a real difference. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
Now, it's Everything is Golden
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Here is your host, James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
And welcome to another episode of Everything is Golden. Now, this week is a little bit different. We're not going to be talking about current events or items so much in the regular news, but there are items in the news concerning one of the biggest fantasy enterprises of all time, and that is Star Wars. I started watching Star Wars when I was a mere teenager. I was about, I think I was 17 or 18, maybe a little older than that when the movie came out. I get the numbers mixed up. But I do know that I went to the movie theater, the theater itself, at least 14 to 15 times to see the first episode of Star Wars that was released when it was released. And from there, I went to see the second episode, which was The Empire Strikes Back, multiple times. I don't remember how many. And then the third episode, which was originally named The Revenge of the Jedi, but changed to The Return of the Jedi, I actually did something I rarely do ever in life, take a day off from work and went to the movies. I think that's the only time I've ever done that, actually, for The Return of the Jedi. There was a long lapse, decades, and then Mr. Lucas, George Lucas, who created the Star Wars enterprise, came out with 3 other movies. Yeah. Then he sold the company to Disney. And hence we got the last 3 episodes of the Star Wars trilogy. My nephew, who was not born at the time when the first Star Wars episode came out, TJ Williams, is here with me today. He is also a Star Wars. It runs in the family, you see, just like the Skywalker thing runs from generation to generation. So do he actually is a lot more knowledgeable about the world of fantasy than I am, which is why I asked him to join me today so we could talk about this Star Wars thing. So welcome, TJ. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to getting into it. And for all you listeners out there that are, big on the semantics, don't get all in a tizzy because he referred to Star Wars as fantasy. And we know it's not Lord of the Rings or any of those other...
It's still fantasy. What the hell is
science fiction?
What the hell is the objection to fantasy? It's not
fiction.
It's not real.
There's a purist for every genre out there, and the purist with fantasy will tell you that Star Wars is not a part of that entire genre. So, I'm just putting that disclaimer out there now.
Here we go. Okay. So when did you start watching Star Wars? I mean, probably I don't know whether you even remember it because you were a baby. We were showing you Star Wars movies.
Yeah, the first one came out the actual year I was born. It came out before I came into this world. But I think I was maybe 10 or 11 the first time I saw it that I can actually remember. I've seen all of the movies except for, episodes 7, 8, and 9 countless times. I've watched 7, 8, and 9 maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Because, not to reveal my true feelings about those movies so early on, you do go back and watch them again and again just to kind of pick through the little, tidbits and the Easter eggs and things like that, the things that you may have missed before, looking for things that may, change your initial perspective or your initial, opinion of the movies.
Well, okay. So the first 3, I was in love with Star Wars Episode 1. I was in love with Star Wars Episode 2. The Empire Strikes Back. In fact, I have very fond memories of being in the movie theater when the big reveal came that Darth Vader was, in fact, Luke's father.
Yeah, that's the biggest reveal in movie history. That reveal is the single most important reason that you do not watch the movies in, order, in the actual episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because if you do, the reveal is completely lost on you. And it's it's the biggest reveal in history of movies. And I mean, I could be wrong, but you can go in the comments section and give me a better one.
Well, I remember the reaction in the movie theater, and I'm not kidding. In the movie theater, the first time we were there, when Darth Vader said, "No, Luke, I am your father." It was it almost sounded like the entire movie theater. Of course, it wasn't. But in unison, you just heard this, "Oh," and then the S word.
Oh, shoot.
Not shoot. And it was so loud that afterwards everyone started laughing. But it was insanely incredible and explosive at the time. So that was a great movie. It ended, and everyone said, coming up, I remember the remarks, "Wow, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life." Then came Return of the Jedis, and that gave a hint as to what was going to happen. I watched Return of the Jedi, and I just had this nagging feeling about these stupid Ewoks. And it's just like, is this a movie, or are they trying to peddle some new kids stuff in here? Merchandise. Is this like a promotion for Ewok merchandise, or is this actually, really the storyline?
That's funny. I don't have any evidence to back it up, but one of the popular kids' cartoons at the time, I believe, was Care Bears. I wonder if that had anything to do with it, but you got to appeal to all ages, and I imagine the Ewoks definitely appealed to at least the female audience, and then the children who were watching it as well. I mean, we could have, or George rather, could have made the Ewoks in the alien species that he wanted to, but to have them be some little cuddly looking teddy bear type creatures, I'm sure it was done on purpose. I don't think I have ever seen an interview with him that, the question was asked, what was the inspiration for the Ewoks? I would love to hear him answer that, though.
Okay, and then after, I don't know, the wait in between the trilogy seemed interminable. I still have the issue of I think it's Newsweek, when it was announced that The Phantom Menace was coming.
Yeah.
And wow, the excitement level was through the roof.
And it didn't disappoint. I mean...
Yes, it did.
No. Look.
Yes, it did.
I understand where you're coming from. And everybody who is a Star Wars person, I'm pretty sure they know exactly what you're alluding to right now. And that's Jar Jar Binks. But I refuse to let one character ruin the entire storyline.
Jar Jar Binks was the absolute stupidest, worst character. Just like that was the biggest reveal in episode 2, Jar Jar Binks was the biggest disappointment in Star Wars franchise history up until the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, but Jar Jar wasn't, I mean... Look,
it took away from the whole movie.
When the movie opened,
every time that guy opened his mouth, and I saw an interview with that guy, and the poor guy that played Jar Jar Binks is he just feels horrible.
Yeah, you never see that guy at any of the Star Wars fan events. He's like living in misery ever since because the character is so hated. Well, and I mean, look, I get it. He's not my favorite at all, by far. But there are a lot of gems in that movie. Come on, the opening scene where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are on the ship fighting against the droids, and they show off, the Jedi speed, the lightsaber melting through the blast doors. just I mean, it gets off, the movie starts with that. So it's like you don't have to wait. It gives you everything you want to see, Jedi and lightsabers right from the jump. And then
the stupid underwater scenes that seemed in the movie to go on forever and ever.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you got to see them fight against Darth Maul, which is one of the better lightsaber choreography scenes that has been made in the whole. It might actually be, I don't know, some of the ones that you see in the latest show. Ahsoka Tano have been really, really good, but that particular fight was excellent. But yeah, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from.
Okay, and then after that came Padme, and I always also thought that the guy that plays Luke, I'm not Luke, the guy that plays Annie.
Annie or Anakin?
Anakin.
Hayden Christensen.
I always thought he was. I'm not trying to denigrate the guy. It's a difficult role, but I always thought he was stiff. Those love scenes were just like stiff. It wasn't. It was, I don't know. Anyway, so we go through that. We go through Padme. We go through the whole thing. I thought one of the strongest moments in it was the episode where finally he turns into Darth Vader at the end and blah, blah. That series is over. There's a lot that I could say about that series that I won't.
Yeah. Given my earlier comments, I have to mention that fight scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end is right up there with the Darth Maul fight scene too. That
scene was actually great.
I mean, they did
on the lava. That was so good.
They did redo a couple of the choreography, like they repeated a couple of the choreography segments. You know, like Anakin did the behind the back flourish like twice, and it was like, okay, you basically just, instead of coming up with something new, you did the same thing over again. So we were like watching the same part of the fight on repeat, but it was still awesome. So I just have to put that out there. Like I can't like leave that out.
Okay, now let's get to the Disney. Disney buys Star Wars. Everybody thinks, okay, Disney owns Star Wars now.
Not me. My personal opinion about this is that there are, this, I have to preface this by saying that I have, up to that point, I had not only watched the movies, but I had read a significant amount of the Star Wars, what's called Legends canon now, all the stuff that was the expanded Star Wars universe, written by a lot of best-selling, award-winning authors.
Yes, I have. Almost the whole library.
And at that point, reading through a lot of those books and seeing, in particular, some of the dark stuff that's in there, I thought Disney was literally the last company that should be taking over Star Wars, simply because I knew that they were not going to put a lot of that stuff out there.
The books those books that were released in the intervening years were absolutely captivating and awesome. And even though there were multiple authors, the thread of work was so high level, such quality.
And no holes. It was all consistent.
Seamless.
It all fit together. I mean, not for nothing. The first two books, one is called The Truce at Baccarat by Kathy Tyers, I believe. And the second book is called The Courtship of Princess Leia. I'm trying to remember.
He's looking it up right
Dave
now.
Wolverton is the name of the author. Those two books and the stories contained within arguably are better than everything that has come out that Disney has put out.
TJ, amen to that. Those Star Wars books blew my socks off.
And we haven't even gotten to Timothy Zahn yet. Okay?
The Timothy Zahn books were through the roof. They were amazing.
Now, just for those who don't know, Timothy Zahn is the man who came up with Grand Admiral Thrawn. His books are so good. He wrote a trilogy, the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which takes place about 5 years after the return of the Jedi, the destruction of the second Death Star. And look, I can understand anybody at Disney saying, hey, if we had made those books into movies, then there wouldn't be any surprises. Everybody would know what was going on, blah, blah, blah. But if you're going to replace something of that level of quality, it needs to be on par or better. And I'm sorry, episode 7 was not even close.
None of the episodes since then have been close. Okay. We're about out of time for this podcast. We did not even get to. So we're going to do a part 2. TJ and I are going to do a part 2 on the new Star Wars, because there is a big announcement. What's the announcement, TJ?
The announcement is that there is a new director, the first woman director to direct a Star Wars film. Her name is Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, and not for nothing, she does have, credentials, 2 Academy Awards, 7 Emmys. But she's made a lot of comments that people are kind of raising their eyebrows at, and we'll get into that in the next part. I mean, to be honest with you, Star Wars is so deep, we might have to make several parts of this. But
yeah, because we didn't even let me introduce another topic for either the next installment of this or the future. Let me ask you one question. If you had to look at the entire body of work of the films, what is the best Star Wars franchise film?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I've thought about this long and hard, and it's really, really difficult to put a film that is not in the main timeline as the best film. But personally, I believe Rogue One is the best.
Rogue One is the
film.
Single best Star Wars franchise movie, period.
Yeah, I mean, The Empire Strikes Back is... Rogue One and this Empire Strikes Back are like 1A and 1B, and you can flip-flop them. Okay, I'm not going to go against everybody else.
Rogue One was astoundingly good.
Rogue One doesn't have the reveal. The reveal is what puts it completely over the top when it comes to the episodes. I mean, The Empire Strikes Back in relationship to every other movie except for Rogue One. Rogue One was probably the best written one from beginning to end, and it showed. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is one of my biggest gripes about Star Wars is that Darth Vader is literally the most popular villain on the planet, but when you look at it, what have we actually seen him do?
Right.
Rogue One gives you a little hint
at the end.
But the books, if you read the books talk about how billions and billions of lives and blah, 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 blah. And we have seen none of that. That's what I want to see. I want to see Darth Vader just go absolutely bonkers. And I have a feeling that Disney is never going to let us see that.
Okay, that's the end of episode 1 of Star Wars with Bo Snerdley, with James Golden on Everything is Golden and TJ Williams. And we will be back soon, I promise you, with episode 2. And I hope you've enjoyed this excursion into the world of fantasy with us in one of the best fantasy enterprises ever made. Everything is Golden. And we'll see you soon.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.